dip buddies. Welcome to my channel. This is Tia. I'm the owner of Nail Dip Studio. Happy New Year, by the way. I know it's been a minute since I've been on. Sorry about that. But I wanted to come today and sort of record a tutorial of me doing a rubber-based gel application underneath my dip powder. And this is something that I've been playing around with now for about a couple of weeks, not too long, but I'm really liking it. I like that rubber-based gel underneath my dip powder. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it in today's video. Right here, I'm just doing my normal dry manicure steps, pushing back my cuticles, removing any dead skin, and prepping the nail for that sort of cuticle cleaning, sidewall trimming, and any hard skin exfoliation that I need to do. I'm going to grab my flame bit and I am going to grab my e-file as well. Usually when I am working on my natural nail, I don't go past the speed of like 2 or 3. I find that if it's too fast, sometimes you can lose control of your tool, and that can actually cause you to have injury or damage to the natural nail. So I always set my e-file at a low setting so that I'm not damaging my nail, because I don't want to do that. I'm also making sure that I'm not pointing my nail bit down. The goal is not to create ridges or to create any type of unwanted, unnecessary dents or indentations in my natural nail, but it's really just to remove any and all of that protein and dead skin that's sitting around on the nail plate. And also, if I have any leftover gel polish from the last application, I want to remove that, or dip powder, I want to remove that as well. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm also separating the skin from that nail plate so that I can see that overgrowth. Now, not everyone has cuticle overgrowth. I sometimes do, and so I like to trim that down. And I find that by using an e-file, it allows me to not cut the live skin, but only lift up and reveal the skin that can be trimmed. So that's what I'm doing here. Once I'm satisfied with my cuticle prep, I'm going to grab my sanding bit. Now this sanding bit is a 240 grit. Yes, so that means it's very, very delicate, very soft. But I like to use this on my natural nail plate just to smooth things out. And then I also use this as a sort of second step to my sidewall cuticle prep. And I use that to also etch and clean up any areas that I may have missed with the flame bit, because the sanding band has a wider base so it can cover more ground. So that's why I'm using this one. Okay, let's grab our nippers and trim any and all, excess skin. Let's remove any hangnails. We want to trim and exfoliate this area. Now, my nippers are starting to get dull. They're not as sharp as I want them to be. So I'm going to sharpen them after this clip. And if you guys want to see how I add back that sharpness to my equipment, my nippers, then let me know. Leave a comment in the comment box and I will do that video and I'll release it. But one of the things that I'm showing you guys is that I like to go side to side. So if I start with my trim in the direction of going from right to left, I then, once I get to the left side, I then reverse it and go left to right. And that for me allows me to do one of two things. I like to do two passes when I'm trimming my cuticle. So I like to go right to left, and then I like to go left to right. The other thing that I do is I want to make sure that once I've done my trimming that I immediately smooth out and exfoliate the surface because you don't want to catch any hangnails. Again, like I stated, I know nippers, excuse me, I know my nippers are going dull. But if your nippers come with a hard plastic protective case, make sure between use after you've cleaned your equipment and you've sterilized your nippers that you put that case back on top. It will help prolong the life of your blade. So right now I'm grabbing my flat top sanding bed and I am using this. This is going to be what I use to sort of sharpen and straighten out that free edge. I really want a straight free edge. And not that I can't achieve it with my nail file, but I wanted, something that really, really, really focused on being symmetrically straight. So I'm using this. This, I believe, is in a 240 or 260. It's very, very fine. It is not coarse. I wouldn't even call this medium. It is ultra fine. Um, I don't know if they probably do have coarser ones, but I don't have that because I'm like, again, I'm using this on my natural nail. So I wanted something that I could use that would not harm my nail plate and or my skin. Now I'm going to grab my large diamond ball and I'm going to use that to exfoliate and to remove any of that hard skin, but to also polish around the cuticle area and the side walls. I love doing this. I do this in every manicure. This is a step that I would not skip. And you can actually get this bit on Amazon. But it's important that you have a couple of sizes. So I have the extra large one. That's the one I usually like to use when I'm finishing my dry manicure. It just adds that extra professional layer, especially if you're just, you're doing your nails on the go. So if you have not invested in any of these types of nail bits, I would strongly recommend you get some because it does add to your manicure and it does make your hand look amazing at the end. Now that we've all finished with our nail prep, I am going to wash my hands. I did that off camera And now what I did was I just took some alcohol in a spray bottle, and I'm going to take a lint-free wipe, and I'm going to wipe my nail bed down. I'm doing that because I want to remove any product that may be there, but also too any additional oils that may be there. I want to dry and remove all of that because we don't need any natural oils on our hands and or leftover product because our manicure will not adhere right. So I'm going to grab step number one, which is the primer, and I am going to grab that and place that over my nail plate. I'm going to do that, and once I do that, then I will be ready for my rubber base gel application. One thing I will say that you should always do is you should prep your station. So as you move from application to application, so if you're doing dip powder to gel or gel to dip powder, you want to make sure that you have your tools and equipment at your fingertips. So I'm grabbing my mini UV lamp as well as my larger lamp. I'm grabbing my brushes. I'm going to make sure I have my base. I'm going to make sure I have some acetone nearby. I'll make sure I have alcohol and my lint-free wipes. I want to make sure everything is within arm's reach because when you're playing with gels, you don't want your gels to spill over. You have a certain amount of time that you have to work with the product, then you have to cure it, and then, you just want to make sure everything is right there so that it does not impede your ability to do your nails. Once you've done and you're satisfied with your setup, then you can move into applying your first slip layer. The slip layer is so important. This is the layer that you need to place down on your natural nail to ensure that the product has something to bind to bond to connect to. And so right now I am applying a thin layer of the rubber base, very thin. And notice how I'm avoiding going all the way back to the cuticle area. And I'm doing that on purpose because I am adding dip powder on top. And so I don't want a bulky back, I would say, cuticle area, that back area. I don't want that to bulk up. So I'm stopping just shy of that cuticle line. Notice here, you see I don't even have my apex built up. It's somewhat flat, right? So I'm showing you this. What you then want to do is you're going to grab and put your brush back into your base, but you're going to grab a nice amount of product, almost like a little teardrop, if you will. And then I like to hold my brush down, point it down, so that that teardrop can form. And then what I do is I place that teardrop right there, right at the edge of where I started. And I'm going side to side, avoiding the side walls because gravity will naturally pull that product down to where it needs to be. And then notice how I took it all the way down, the brush all the way down to the free edge. And I made sure that I applied product there. Now I'm taking my brush and I am pulling down on the sides the rubber gel, and I am making sure that the placement, I'm checking for placement. I'm looking at my nail from the free edge and pulling the product back because I see that it's starting to gather and collect. And where you want to concentrate as much product as you can towards the center area to build that apex up. Once you're satisfied with that, you flip your finger over and you're going to let gravity sort of pull that product down some so that it's not as flat. Once you're satisfied with your placement, you want to check one more time, but once you're satisfied with your placement, you want to flash, you want to fast freeze your gel application really quickly so it doesn't move around. You want to just make sure you grab it, you put it directly underneath that little mini lamp, boom, hold it there for about 15-20 seconds, and then you can start with the next finger. But that's one of the things that I like to do. Do not go to the next finger and you have not cured your previous finger at least for 15 seconds. You just want to freeze it. It's not fully baked. It's not fully done. Your gel is not even all the way cured underneath. But what it is it is frozen enough to where you can move to the next finger. Because once we have both fingers froze for about 15 seconds or so, Once we're satisfied with our application, then we will set our fingers under the bigger lamp and let that cure for 60 seconds. Okay. Once you are satisfied with your desired thickness, shape, and application, and I want you to check your work before you proceed to the next step. Once you're satisfied with that, I then want you to put your fingers under the larger lamp, which is what you see to the right of me, and I'm going to cure my fingers for 60 seconds. That's going to ensure that I have fully cured the rubber base gel. You do not want uncured gel on your nails. It's not healthy. It's not good for the nail integrity and nail health that you want. So make sure you're curing your nails for another 60 seconds once you've sort of frozen that rubber base. Now, once that's done, I'm going to grab my alcohol and I am going to wipe down that tacky layer. I want to make sure I get that out the way, because what we're going to do is we're going to grab our dip powder and we're going to add about 3 dip color layers to that rubber base that we just applied for our next step in our dip manicure. So you just want to make sure you remove that tacky layer. Now, this shade is called Yes Sweetheart. I thought it was really cute, but it's a really, really pretty wine red. It's a deep burgundy shade. It's very, very pretty. So we're going to apply that to our rubber base. And I am going to go ahead and start with step number 2. So we're going to grab step number 2, but before I do that, I want to just again make sure I'm wiping everything down. I don't want any of that gel residue on top of or interfering or commingling with my step number 2, my base. So I want to make sure that I get everything off. I don't want anything tacky on the nail. So I am really going in. Once I've done that, I'll grab step number 2 and start applying my dip layers. let's dust everything off. Once we dust everything off, we're going to grab our clear so that we can encase the pigment that we just applied. The dip powder shade, if I did not mention it, it's called Yes Sweetheart, and it is on the website. So right now, you always want to make sure that you stir up your dip powder. You want to release any air pockets that may be trapped, any type of clumps that may be in there. Sometimes moisture can, in your room, depending on where you live, it could make the product clunky. And so you just want to make sure you just put like a little wooden stick or a little thin Q-tip to stir everything up. I am now going to apply, again, still working with step number 2, the clear, just to make sure that I encase that pigment. We're going to start fouling and buffing, and I do not want to lose any of that color. That color is so pretty, so I don't want it to become splotchy. So that's why you encase your color with clear. Once we've applied that clear layer, I'm going to grab step number 3, which is the bond, so that I can start the activation process so that the dip powder can start to cure. So I want to make sure that it cures at the same time. So I'm going to grab step number 3 and apply that to both fingers. Now that we have applied everything and the bond is now hardened the actual dip nails. One of the things you want to do is you want to check if your nails are hard, then you can proceed. Sometimes if you go to tap and it's soft, it's like very faint, give it a couple more minutes because it's not fully cooked, it's not fully cured. Once it gets super hard, then you can move on and start your fouling. One of the questions I get asked a lot is how can I enhance my dip manicure at home? And I would say the biggest piece besides just product and practice would be perfecting shaping. Perfecting shaping could be the difference between someone saying, "Where do you get your nails done?" And you say, "I do them at home," to, "Ooh, she does her nails at home. I can tell." Right? So you want to make sure that you're perfecting this and you're taking your time. I like using a fine, the fine side of my nail file. My nail files have two different sides. There's a 100 side and then there's the 180 side. I prefer using that 180 side when I am trying to smooth out and I am trying to redistribute some weight, like rebalance the nail a little bit. And sometimes you have to do that. I'm doing that now so that you guys can see that. I don't use the 100 side as much. I will if I'm trying to remove bulk, but you gotta be careful. with that, because you could remove too much and you could foul off the dip layers, and now you're just left with the rubber base. Even though the rubber base does have some integrity to it, but having that dip layer on top of it makes it even stronger. So that's why I try to go in with the 180. But you want to make sure that you're just, like I said, perfecting your shape. Follow the natural direction of your nail. If you want to taper that in some, then go in at a slight angle and taper that in, but always use that 180 side, because it will allow you to control how much product you're removing. You don't want to remove that much product, because then you run the risk of having thin nails, and now all that hard work is gone. It's actually sitting in a napkin because you filed everything off. What a bummer. So just make sure you're using your 180 side and you take your time. Throw on Netflix or something. I mean, they come out with a different series every day. Something new is just added. Watch a series and take your time and enjoy this time as you're doing your nails. But shaping is probably the biggest thing that I would say, that's the like telltale sign as to whether or not you went and got your nails quote unquote professionally done, or whether or not you got your nails, done at home. So just make sure that you are taking your time with that, and see, look at that shape. That shape is cute. Yep, that's it. just say this. You know the shape is shaping when the shape is shaping even in dust. Do you see the dust on the shape, ma'am? The shape is shaping. The shape is shaping. So I washed my hands off camera. And what I'm going to do now is grab a lint-free wipe and some alcohol and just wipe those nails down one last time before I start to apply my gel top coat and base coat before I finish doing my manicure. Look at that shape. Cute. Ooh. Look, I'm telling you, shaping is key. And if you were one of the girls like I was back in the 90s where we didn't have an e-file, you had a handheld file, hun, and you had to learn how to shape. If you could not shape the girls' nails, honey, you did not have clients. And trust me, we were using products, but sometimes, the product wasn't, it wasn't the product. It was the technique. It was the technique from the tech, right? So shaping and filing, you got to learn how to do that. Take practice, get a practice hand, practice finger, and practice. It does not have to be on your hand, but you want to practice filing and shaping. And if I can't give you any other advice, practice filing and shaping. Now that everything is dry, you can tell when your nails are completely dry because it'll have that ashy look. It won't look like you have on matte gel polish, sort of semi-wet. It'll really look dry. We're going to apply that base coat, that base gel coat to our nails. We're going to apply that, always making sure that you sweep that free edge, and we're going to cure our nails for 60 seconds. Now we're going to grab our gel glaze, which is our top coat, and we're going to apply 2 layers. You're going to cure each layer at 60 seconds. And then once you have done that, you are completely done with your dip manicure. It is going to be and look amazing, I'm sure of it. Thank you so much for spending the last hour with me as we did our nails together. I have more content coming out. Until we meet again, keep dipping. Bye, guys.